You're listening to the Full Phoenix Rising podcast. A church as a positive disruption for good. Full Phoenix Rising, let's talk food. Let's talk supply chains. Let's talk supermarkets. Because there's a big old issue. Here's the issue. About 30% of all produce that goes into a supermarket ends up in the garbage bin. 30%. Couple that with theft, which happens at like every supermarket. Some people steal stuff, which is about 10%. You got 40% of every product you put on a shelf gets thrown away. And there's this beautiful moment where it goes past sell by and before use by, and it becomes completely useless to a supermarket. And then organizations like OzHarvest collect those goods and then they redistribute them to food banks like the one at our church that we then distribute to people in our community. Some of them need it. Some of them are just getting free food. But for the most part, it's a decent product that has just hit past sell by, but it's before use by. So a great example of this is if you go into a supermarket and it's got a quick buy purchase sticker on it, that product probably has to be moved within the next 24 to 48 hours. It has to be sold in the next day. Otherwise, it is now past sell by, but it's not out of date. They then take that product, they put it in a refrigerated unit out the back that then goes into a refrigerated truck called OzHarvest. It then comes to our building and we put it in there and we give it to people in our community. Problem on top of this is prices within a supermarket are skyrocketing. And so there's questions around price gouging. So here's my church's positive disruption for good. We are on a small church property with a limited amount of space and a limited amount of buildings. And we made the decision to make our kitchen big enough to support effectively a milk bar type situation, which doesn't really exist in Australia, but still very popular in New Zealand. But it's essentially a corner store grocery store that's completely free. So on a Thursday and on a Saturday, we get a big old delivery of food. Sometimes it comes from OzHarvest. Sometimes it comes from Aldi, but whatever it is, it's one of the major supermarket brands. We then take that good, the stuff that needs to be refrigerated, gets shoved in refrigerator units, and then we distribute that out to people who need it. The thing about food pantries is they're not interconnected. So there's a bunch of different organizations doing this food reclamation business. And ultimately, certainly within our community, there isn't a whole bunch of struggle for food. It's growing because the cost of living is increasing, but it's redistribution of food that is past sell by. So here's my thought. What if all the churches got together and renovated their buildings in a way that you could create a commercial pantry? And then we partnered up with OzHarvest, and I forget the crew from Coles that do it, but Coles have the same organisation. So OzHarvest works with Woolworths. There's one that works with Coles. I'm hoping Aldi has the same solution, although I don't think they do. Correct me if I'm wrong, Aldi. We then say to those distributors, we'll actually take all the food. So just give it to us. We're going to give it away for free. We're already probably through like Vinnie's and a bunch of other places already working with those people in the community who are in need. But we're actually going to systematize this operation in a way that every church has a local grocery store that is distributing free food. Why would you do that? Well, one, you're helping people in the community. That's a good initiative. But what if the response was from the supermarkets, you are giving away 20 or 30% of the food that we buy to people for free? That's unacceptable. So what we're going to do is improve our supply chains to such a level that we're no longer wasting 30% of the food, but it's more like 20% or 10% or 5% of the food. And therefore, there is an opportunity to pass savings on to the consumer. Now, I know that part is probably the big place where this gets let down, but I don't think they're going to be able to address this quickly. And what I'm seeing certainly within pantries is there's no interconnection between who we serve. So there are people within our pantry who are getting food from a bunch of different locations. Some of them need it. Some of them are just rorting the system. But I'm like, what's to stop us from just, why does it have to be feeding hungry? Why couldn't we just be redistributing food? That's good for a carbon footprint. It's good for a community. It's good for people that you could now get a booster box of good produce from us for free. Whether or not you need it, it's going to reduce food bills for you at home. And as a result, we're saying institutions respond to it. So it's not acceptable to throw away 30% of the food. Improve your supply chains, better handle your produce to better reduce this. You're never going to get it to zero. I get that. But whatever it is, that remainder of food could still be repurposed now for people who actually need it. But then you can actually bump on those savings to the consumers. Right now, it's wild. What other business has an acceptable 30% wastage? That's huge. And that's a supply chain issue. You've got the produce there in the supermarket. You've just got too much of it. And so as a church, globally, could we partner up, take on pantries at all our churches that just distribute this free food? It's good stuff. It's free. It's available. I'm telling you, in our area, there's probably 5 pantries. You don't have to buy everything. We can give it to you for free. And it's coming straight from a supermarket. It just feels like a really simple solve. We've all got the space to do this. I'm in the tiniest church and I definitely have the space to do this. And so as a positive disruption for good, we address the supply chain issues within supermarkets by creating corner shop IGA / church GA that distribute free food. You're going to have to do something about it. All right, that's it for the podcast. See you again next week. Bye.